You walk into a room and immediately you feel it. A thick, invisible weight settles onto your shoulders. Without a word spoken, you are expected to carry the tension, the arguments, and the unease of everyone else present. You are the designated problem. Therapists have a specific term for this role. In clinical psychology, this person is known as the identified patient. To the outside world, and often to medical professionals, the family presents this single individual as the sole source of their collective distress. The entire group subscribes to a shared delusion. They operate on the strict belief that if this one difficult, rebellious, or broken individual could simply be fixed or removed entirely, the family would finally achieve perfect harmony. To understand how this dynamic actually works, we have to stop looking at this group as a nurturing family tree. If we map the structure, we see a rigid organizational hierarchy. The system operates entirely on defensive mechanics, functioning much more like a cult than a home. Every member is assigned a specific permanent job to maintain the structure. The enabler absorbs the fallout. The golden child projects perfection. The hero overachieves to make the group look normal. None of these roles exist to nurture the individual. They form a tight defensive perimeter. All of this architecture serves exactly one purpose. The machine is engineered to protect a single, highly fragile ego at the top, extracting the cost of protection directly from its most vulnerable member. The figure at the top of this hierarchy, the narcissistic parent, projects an outward mask of absolute superiority. They demand submission and present an image of unshakable control and moral authority to everyone around them. Beneath that mask lies a massive, unacknowledged reservoir of toxic shame. The parent feels a terrifying sense of emptiness and inadequacy, but lacks the emotional maturity required to process those feelings. To look at their own shame would mean complete psychological collapse. To survive, they have to get that pain out of their own body. Psychoanalyst Melanie Klein pioneered our understanding of how this works. She identified a psychological survival mechanism called Projective Identification, where a person splits off the parts of their own ego that they despise. Simple projection involves blaming someone else for your own faults. Projective identification goes much further. The parent unconsciously induces the child to actually embody the exact traits they hate within themselves. They force the child to act out the anxiety, anger, and worthlessness the parent refuses to feel. This text details the mechanics of how a traumatizing narcissist externalizes their shame. The parent actively colonizes the child's psyche. They devitalize the child, using them as a host to store feelings of dependency and inferiority, so they never have to experience them directly. The identity you were assigned was a clinical necessity. You served as a repository, a storage unit for the narcissist's toxic psychological waste. The obvious question is, why you? For years, the system conditioned you to believe you were selected because you were weak, flawed, or exceptionally difficult to love. The true criteria for selection are found in your strengths. You were targeted specifically because you were the highly sensitive, emotionally intelligent truth teller. You were targeted specifically because you were the highly sensitive, emotionally intelligent truth teller. You saw the dysfunction clearly, and that awareness threatened to shatter the parent's fragile reality. Psychologists refer to this as the Cassandra Complex. In Greek mythology, Princess Cassandra was gifted the ability to see the future with total clarity, but cursed so that no one would ever believe her warnings. As the scapegoat, you foresee the emotional devastation of the family, but your warnings are dismissed. The family sustains their shared delusion by trapping you in a psychological hall of mirrors. When you present the raw, objective truth about the parent's behavior, the rest of the group compresses and distorts that reality to protect the status quo. Your accuracy is an existential threat to the machine. Because you hold a mirror up to their unprocessed trauma, the family is forced to label you as crazy, dramatic, and unstable. Discrediting you is their only defense mechanism. The family ruthlessly maintains your position at the bottom of the hierarchy. They execute coordinated smear campaigns, deliver disproportionate punishments for minor mistakes, and subject you to chronic gaslighting to ensure you never realize your own strength. The physiological toll of surviving this environment is staggering. You live in a perpetual state of hyperarousal, developing complex trauma and a deeply internalized belief that you are unworthy of basic care. Your nervous system is constantly bracing for the next attack. We have to separate your true identity from the abuse you endured. The parents' relentless efforts to induce weakness in you were desperate attempts to relocate their own terrifying feelings of inadequacy onto a safer target. The family relentlessly attacked your empathy, flexibility, and drive for the truth. Yet these are the exact qualities that forced you to develop a capacity for introspection and emotional maturity that the parent never achieved. By navigating your own feelings in a hostile environment, you built a resilient, independent psychology. The only cure for this dynamic is a process called differentiation of self. This requires abandoning the futile task of trying to change the family's mind. You cannot explain the abuse to the people projecting it. Healing means entirely separating your intellectual and emotional functioning from the group. You were never the broken piece of the family. You were the exhaust pipe for a toxic machine. Dropping that unearned weight is the definitive